What's up, Lemonheads? Welcome to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. I am Crystal riding solo today in our virtual lemonade stand. It is hot and humid here in Texas today, and probably where my guest lives as well. So, cannot wait for you guys to get to listen to today's call. And if you've ever listened to me, you know I say operations are what really grows businesses. Marketing just gets to be a fun part of it. It's definitely important, but operations are where it's at. So we really felt like someone joining our podcast to talk about operations and the importance of those things would really help you guys know how you can grow your business. So grab your lemonade, set your AirPods. Let's sip some lemonade. All right. So, Terry, this is not your first time on the From the Yellow Chair podcast.
That is accurate. And it's always fun to come and visit with you and see your smiling, cheery face.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I have really come to know and respect what you have really built personally. Love listening to your stories. This is definitely not your first rodeo in the home service industry with all of the cool things that you have done. I know you've been a business builder. You're a great speaker. You're actually an inductee into the Home Service Contracting Hall of Fame. And the visionary behind Praxis S10, which was very impactful for McWilliams, which a lot of my listeners know that's my family's, home company, as I say. But Praxis S10 is really doing some great things with strategic mentoring and the training platform that's really dedicated to home service companies.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And, it's an honor to be in this industry. The people are just such good people, and they work so hard, and they provide such a valuable service to the industry that they serve. It's just, it's a great industry, and I love it, and still having fun every day.
Well, good. It's not really work when we're having fun, huh?
That is true.
But I know that you're really passionate about helping contractors build businesses that don't rely on like the constant hustle either, but really have clear, repeatable processes. And so today I thought we would kind of dive into that. When I was kind of dreaming up topics, I was like, man, I really love to lean into operations because really a lot of what Lemon Seed does for our contractors is we come up with great offers, but a lot of times it requires your technicians or your plumbers to be able to flip leads. It requires you to understand how much room you have, how much margin do you have to be able to offer this financing offer and things like that. So I just thought we could really dive into how that structure really can help create success. So, I just thought I'd start with, why do so many business owners overlook really the importance of solid processes in their business?
Well, it's probably the same reason you and I overlooked the processes when we first started our business. I mean, Crystal, remember those early days when you first launched Lemon Seed? Your focus was probably on survival instead of scalability.
Correct.
And, in the initial phases of a business, you're wearing all the hats. You're doing the sales, you're doing the marketing, the operations, the accounting. And it's usually faster to just do the work rather than document systems and procedures on here's how it should be done. But without those processes in place, you're going to have chaos. And now the owner of the company or leaders, how big, depending on how big the company is, obviously, now you're a professional firefighter. And, as a firefighter, it's kind of flattering actually, because it's kind of heroic. And I mean, you see all these benefits of being a fireman today, and there should be, because these people risk their lives. But we kind of, as business owners, take on that, and it feels good to be the problem solver. And then all of a sudden it becomes a trap. And it's a trap because the business starts growing. But as the business grows, the fires start getting bigger and the fires become more frequent. And now you're jumping from fire to fire, and you're no longer building a company. You're building a job that you can't really replace yourself from, and everything revolves around you.
Absolutely. My dad told me this when I first went over to work at McWilliams. He's like, hey, Trey's working in the business right now, so I can work on the business. And then when Trey takes over, he'll move to working on the business instead of in the business. And even right now, as Lemon Seed grows, Emily and I, my partner and I, we've been trying to figure out like, how do we get more out of the doing? And I'm not going to lie, it does feel good to be the one that can solve things. Like I have contractors right now that they kind of enjoy being needed, but they also want some freedom. And I'll tell them like, what is your process? So what is your turnover process? What is your, process when a person gets denied financing or whatever the process that relates to marketing kind of pops up. And a lot of times it's that, well, kind of a woe is me story. Like, well, everybody needs me and I'm still working 15 hours a day and stuff like that. So you're right. I think sometimes you kind of want to be the hero, but the important part here is like literally working yourself out of a daily job. So the next little step that I have here is, why do businesses still like hit great growth? So I get this about marketing all the time too. Man, I'm a $6 million company, Crystal, and never paid a penny in Google advertising. So I know I hear that you probably hear the same thing. Well, I've hit this far. I've made it this far with not really documenting my processes. Like, why should I really implement a processes and procedure plan in my company?
Well, I think that as a business grows, you've got to understand that every business owner has a different level of capability. And it doesn't make it right or wrong, but one individual, they may be able to grow to $3 million just purely on their own initiative and talent. Another company may be 6 million, another company may be 9 million. But at some point in time, every business owner reaches a ceiling where they can't go anymore just from their own pure effort, if you will. And so everything is going to revolve around them. So when you hit that ceiling, you're stuck. And the only way out of getting unstuck and out of that rut is by having other individuals step in. And so your whole objective should be, how can I work my way out of being, dependent upon this business? In fact, one of the sayings we have in this organization is we're trying to help individuals become independent. And we're not necessary. We're just we're there to help. We're there to assist if that's what they need.
Yes. And I like the idea of just coming to terms with the fact that some people, now you're probably not going to agree with this. This might be a little cringy to you. Some people make everything overly processed, right? So they overcomplicate the issues. What I like to see is people when they, out of pain comes progress, right? A lot of times. So to me, a lot of times I like to see when contractors are experiencing things and then they create a solution and then they start implementing that solution. So like this whole idea of like sitting down and creating all of these processes at one time may not be ideal for everyone. But, the other thing that really stuck out that you said to me was, knowing what your strengths are as an owner and when you need to bring different people in was also a big thing. I know like Trey, when he really, Trey, my brother from McWilliams, when he really started, making waves and things, I remember thinking, does he know how to negotiate pricing on equipment? Like he's in there sounding like he knows what to talk about. And one day Trey was like, I just had to start learning it. Like if I was going to be responsible for it, I just had to start learning it. And so you're very right. Like some people come to you with better knowledge and understanding of different aspects of the business that definitely, it requires them to kind of get assistance at different levels. 3 million, 6 million, 20 million requires different support, I assume.
Now, you made that comment that a lot of people go overboard on processes. And I think that's a fair statement because it doesn't always take a whole bunch of processes to change a person's position. I mean, I'll share with you a little situation that took place over the last couple of months. Is we have a client that had very rapid growth. And their very rapid growth, sometimes growth does not equal success. And so they had tremendous growth, and they're a bigger company than the average company out here, but they're not making any money. And they came seeking some assistance and help. And so for 4 months in a row, they had lost money. We started working with them, and I identified that there were 2 major challenges inside their business. One was in the contact center. One was in the selling service technician side of their business. And sometimes it takes someone from the outside to just look at it and go, what are you guys thinking here? Just help me understand what you're thinking. And it's so obvious to someone on the outside, but they're caught in the minutia every day. And we said, you know what? This isn't a big, issue here. And he said, it's a big issue to me because I've lost, X thousands of dollars, which was a 6-figure number. So when you're losing that amount of money, it is a big issue, obviously. And I said, well, let's put this one process in place right here for the contact center manager. And that's the only thing I want them to focus on. Just focus on this with your client care specialist. Put this in place for the service manager and have him do this with the selling technicians. And just do this and just do this right now. And the exciting thing is in month number, now they started, I said 4 months ago. So in month 1, they still lost some money. All right. But in the next month, they at least got right back to neutral. In April, they made over $92,000. In May, they made over $183 million, or not million, 183,000. Man, I got my own self excited here. All right. And so back to your point, that's measurable progress in reasonable time. And they didn't write a process for the whole company. They took one thing for the contact center, one thing for the selling service technician side. And if I could say one advice is, and Crystal basically said it, I'm just elaborating on it, is pick one thing that's going to have a major impact on your business and focus on that. You don't have to be working on 10 processes at once. Just work on the ones that will drive the huge profitability to your organization, or the improved customer service, or whatever the issue is you're striving to solve.
I use this analogy too all the time. I'm a big analogy girl, but you eat an elephant and a cookie the same way, one bite at a time. And so, you can make good moves just by being intentional about making moves consistently and strategically without overwhelming yourself with it. And that does lead us right into topic number 2, which is building with intention, not with reaction. So basically talking about the shift from reactive to proactive building of your business. And I think that's where processes really shine. One way that I've really seen that grow is with companies that are opening other locations, like other branches, if you will. So, they have their core, then they're going to move up, an hour away and open a location. And so because they have things kind of rocking and rolling at their home location, they're able to really implement things, at least on a foundational level, right into that new location. So what do you think are some signs that maybe a business might be operating in reaction mode all the time?
Well, I think if you look at the owner or the leadership team, if they're always tired, if they're always worn out, if they're always weary, and maybe if they're even making statements like, I'm getting burned out, or maybe the service is inconsistent and the management team feels overwhelmed, or they're missing deadlines, it's almost a sure guaranteed fired sign that they're not operating with systems and procedures. I mean, it's always an end result on why the emotions, why the feelings, why the actions are where they're at.
Yeah. I mean, I think about this sometimes of emotional intelligence has been something that we've been discussing in my group for women at HVACR. I run some discussion groups sometimes with them, and, trying to decipher if people are just emotional people in general, where everything is on fire every day, all the time, or is that a true reaction that you need to focus on? But yeah, I think you can look at contractors sometimes and see that. I had a contractor from Florida, and he had just onboarded with a new CRM. Many of you will know what CRM that probably was, and was literally, having a meltdown. Like, I can't do it. It's going to tank my business. And was the biggest mistake I've ever made. It took all my money. Just very much in a reactionary, emotional state. And I just had to kind of bring him back around and say, listen, we just need to start one piece at a time. Like, let's fix the accounting side with the CRM. Then we can fix the, back history pieces being, integrated correctly. And then, but moving forward, like from today forward, make your CSRs do it right. So we know from today forward, the information is put in correctly. But again, it was so overwhelming to them that I'm like, everything was a problem then. They were having trouble getting some equipment on a truck that day. So I mean, he was just in full panic mode. So I 100% understand when you've got some emotional things going on in a business, and not just from girls. A lot of times men can be just as emotional. It just might come out more as, anger or, toughness, tough love type modes. But, so do you think processes, of course, I know you think processes help make leaders make faster and better decisions. Have you seen well, you gave a good example already where you saw people that just started implementing little things and it helped them make faster decisions. Do you notice a lot of indecisiveness with contractors when they are in this reaction mode or lack processes?
Well, I think where the challenge becomes is when you lack processes, it actually reduces your ability to deal with the high payoff activities inside your business, and you face this decision fatigue. As a business owner, I'm sure you know it. I mean, I know it, and probably every owner that's tuned in today. If you're in the home service business, you're going to face dozens, sometimes, hundreds of decisions that need to be made every single day. And without having these systems in place, that means you've got to make a decision, and you're starting from zero on every single decision that needs to take place. And, that's why great leaders, they've got to be able to make fast decisions. I mean, one of the things that I think all owners of companies need to understand, if you're going to be a great leader and drive a great successful business, the number one thing you got to be able to do is establish priorities. What's the number one most important thing that's going to have the greatest impact on the success of my business? The second thing is you're going to have to be able to execute with urgency around those priorities. And if you have these little decisions that just keep popping up where you've got to go make a decision for your team, you can't focus on working on the things that are going to drive the huge success. And I'll give you an example for this. You're in the business, your brother's in the business. We're all in the business here. We know that we're going to field hundreds, maybe thousands of phone calls a day, depending on the size of your business. And after we fill those calls, we got to dispatch them to service technicians, right?
Yes.
And we also know there are going to be days when we have more calls than we could possibly dispatch. And so, as simple as it is, in our company, we've developed a priority dispatching. So when a client care specialist books a call, it is assigned one of 7 numbers. And it's pretty sophisticated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm being facetious when I say sophisticated number.
Sophisticated,
so when we book that call, it's either a priority 1, a priority 2, or a priority 3. Now, all the dispatcher needs to do is they need to look at the call board, and if you don't establish that priority, they're always going to be running to the leaders and say, how should I dispatch this? This client over here is screaming this. This client's screaming this. We got to go here first. We got to go there first. Well, what happens if a client that is the squeaking the loudest is a priority 5? Should we be seeing them over a priority 1? Absolutely not. So if you set this priority up, just dispatch priority 1s first. When they're done, dispatch priority 2. When they're done, dispatch priority 3. That dispatcher doesn't have to come and ask us how to dispatch these 100 calls for the day. That decision's already been made. All you got to do, follow the system.
And it takes away the guesswork too. So, and it's a simplistic approach to it, but it takes away the guesswork of them feeling like, oh, do I prioritize this one or this one? Like they're already labeled and it's everybody speaking the same language. Right. So definitely a great way to add in a process to help accomplish a common goal. I just think that we can really complicate things. Again, another organization that I'm a part of, man, it seems like lately we've really complicated every single step. And I can be guilty of that even at Lemon Seed, overthinking it to the point of no return. And you're like, man, this really can not even not empower the team, but almost cripple the team when it gets that much deeper, too deep, for sure. So one thing that I love about what you're saying here is that processes are really for the whole team. right? Not just for the owner, not just for a manager, but for the whole entire team. And so, what do you think are some top tips for creating buy-in from your employees on, implementation of some new processes or strategies to getting things done? Is there a secret?
Well, I think we could talk about that topic for probably the next couple of days, but we probably don't have days there. So let me start with a simple analogy, all right? Because you said you like analogies. If you hire a duck and attempt to turn that duck into an eagle, what do you think the probability of success is going to be, Crystal?
Oh,
I'm
not.
going to say probably not very well.
Not.
Okay, that's the right answer. All right, since you hesitated, I thought I'd jump in and give you a little help.
A trick.
No, it's not a trick. If you tell a duck, fly down there and pick that rabbit up and eat it, the duck's going to go, I like that little fuzzy rabbit. You tell an eagle to fly down there and eat that rabbit, he's got no problem doing that whatsoever. So what's my point? My point is, at Praxis S10, for example, we have a core principle called care. And care is one of our core principles. So when we're in the interview process, we've actually identified questions that can find out whether people meet our care core principles. And for us, care means we are interviewing people that are going to be competent, they're going to be committed, and they're going to be coachable. And then we have a description and could go much deeper on what competent means, on what committed means, what being coachable means. But then we've designed these questions to bring that out. And if at any point in the process, when we're asking an applicant, if it becomes, awareness that we feel, wait, this individual's not going to like feedback. This individual's not going to like when we sit down and say, hey, you're doing good, but here's where you can improve, then they're weeded out immediately. So we actually have a criteria to figure out whether people meet our core principle on day one. So what's the point I'm trying to get at? I think so many people try to hire the wrong individual and convert them after you've hired them. And an individual's not going to be any better than the first 2 weeks that they're your company. In fact, if you can't stand them in the first 2 weeks, then you probably ought to just admit the fact that you made a hiring mistake, because they're not going to get any better. All right.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so the point is, if you want people to have buy-in, you got to hire the right people in the process. And I understand that may not help you as you go along, but you've got to start the process of recruiting and building the type of company you want. And the best way to do it is before they start, because the reality is every owner of a company or leader, and I know you've got a lot of leaders that are tuned in today, you only have 3 responsibilities. If you want to make your business really simple as a leader of your organization, first thing you got to do is hire the right people. And that's where our identifying their core principles right up front. Are they going to meet our core principle? So we've got to make sure we hire the right individual. Once you hire that right individual, you've got these performance expectations or standards or what you want them to follow. And that's the procedures and the systems that you're recommending. Meaning you probably have a uniform. Don't just criticize people when they come in looking bad. Have a poster right there on the wall. This is the way our boots look. This is the way our belt looks. This is the way our pants are. This is the way our uniform works. And that's a process, as simple as that may be. And in the interview process, are you willing to wear our uniform? Are you willing to wear it every single day? And once that individual has made that commitment, now you can hold them accountable, because you can say, remember day one in the interview process, we ask you, are you willing to do this? You said you would. So there's now hold the people accountable. And then the third step is the accountability factor. All right. So step 1, hire the right people. Step 2, educate them to do what you want them to do. And step 3, hold them accountable. And there's not one single problem. If you're listening to this podcast today, or what do you call it? If you're listening to the chief head,
Yeah.
If you're tuned in today, listen to the chief lemonhead today. If you've got a problem in your business, there's not one problem that's not related to either it's the wrong person, you didn't educate them to do what you want them to do, or 3, you're not holding them accountable. And I challenge you to put yourself through that process and find out where the challenge lies.
Well, I'm telling you, that is very true. We're on this kick right now of hiring off of our core values. We've had core values, but for some reason I had never thought to hire and fire based off of those. And that just like, I mean, that I felt freedom with that, because I was like, that is exactly true. I always try to look inward, like, did I set this person up for success, or did this person set themselves up for success? So, there's lots of good feedback there about, buy-in comes because people are active and want to be a part of your organization. Therefore, they tend to adopt what's there. You always have like those old school people in my mind that really can rock the boat. But Trey told me this when we went to performance pay, and we bought another company, and all these things were going on. And I fretted, my East Texas word, I fretted over, what people thought and how they were going to respond. And he told me, he said, listen, the ones that are not in our culture, that won't fit our culture, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb, and they will eventually fall off, or they will see that they stick out and shift their thinking to fall right in line. And it really did happen. Like 2 or 3 guys that were negative from the get-go, that we were looking for a reason sometimes to help them get out the door, basically self-selected out of the organization, because they realized that their negativity and their inability to adapt and their inability to embrace some of the new cool things that we were doing was not just them being not being excited about it. They were being negative about it. And it really, it kind of took care of itself.
Right.
But you're exactly right. Well, here's the next little step that I thought about. And this takes us from processes into profitability. So no one's I don't know anyone. I mean, I'm not actually, if I think about it real hard, but I don't know a lot of people who are in business just to be busy, right? We're here to make money. Everybody started a heating, air conditioning, or plumbing company to make money, to get some freedom, to be able to make the big decisions. But, these processes really can impact their actual bottom line. And so have you seen some processes and systems and things that really can cause costly errors, or maybe how do they even measure the impact that these things are having?
Well, I haven't seen processes that cost companies money if they're the right processes. I mean, processes are all designed to not only make the life of the leaders and owners much freer, but it's also designed to improve the profitability. I mean, for example, we have a checklist that we endorse, then depending on what type of equipment, if it's a package unit, there's a checklist on a complete install. If it's a split system, there's a checklist on that. And what it's designed to do is really, it's really for the homeowner. And, if a homeowner buys a new system and they put out a lot of money, and probably the majority of your clients are premium companies that believe in, doing all the things that are above and beyond, which cost more money. And they probably believe in having high paid employees and nice trucks and nice uniforms and nice benefits and all these things that ultimately you have to pass those costs on to the homeowner. Mm-hmm. Well, when a homeowner pays a premium price and they come home excited to see their brand new system, and they go to the thermostat and it doesn't work, well, they want to shoot you.
Yeah, so, they're mad.
Yeah, they're really mad. So we've developed checklists that are really put in place to ensure that the installer doesn't miss one single detail that is going to lead to an upset homeowner. Now, the advantage to that is we did it for the homeowner, but then we saw the residual effect of it. And the residual effect is we started seeing how installers stopped missing little details. They started doing more quality installs, because you can't say I did this and check it off if you didn't really do it. Now, what we have is, especially like in a training situation where most people probably tune in today, if they're in the heating and air conditioning business, they have helpers as well working with the lead. Is that a fair assessment, Crystal?
Yes.
Okay. So we actually can use the checklist to actually help the helper start learning the business to actually become a lead as well. And then what can take place is, before that installer leaves the home, they can call the install manager. And especially if they're on one of these software programs where everybody has access to it, the installation manager can say, hey, team, don't leave until I review this list. Let me see your readings again. And they can review the readings before the install team leaves the home. And if something doesn't look right, they can address the issue right there on the spot. And now we've headed off a callback. We've headed off an upset customer. We've improved the productivity of that company as well, and the installation team, and all that leads to making more money. So checklists, it's not about what's the word I'm seeking?
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's about a money-making opportunity that makes everyone's life busy or easier. So we're not just being busy, we're busy making money.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And I try to teach this too on like even the CSR side. Like I'm gonna tie in a little marketing here in true Crystal fashion, but even things that help you make more money, like getting good email addresses, getting good cell phone numbers, so that when we need to drum up business as contractors, we have an actual treasure chest of valid emails, that we have good data in our CRM. So you're right, like these little checklists, like did you get a cell phone number? Did you get an email? Did you verify the email? Those are not meant to catch a CSR slipping up one time. It's really meant to ensure that we have opportunities on the marketing side, as when we hit into a slow little rough patch, or a shoulder season for sure. So, I want to come back to one thing that you said as we kind of start wrapping up a little bit here is, I know one of your things that you've shared with me before is, you've watched owners literally work themselves through processes and things to not being so owned by the business, right? Like take a real vacation, actually enjoy their weekends. So I just love your philosophy on that freedom through system. And so, I just think it's important, like, implementing processes slowly but surely. That's one thing that's come out of today's talk. Slowly but surely implementing systems, that second point, third point of that are beneficial to the whole team, not just to the managers or not just to the owners, but that also help you make more money and reduce costly errors. And, what do you think maybe, how does that level of freedom, being able to like watch your business work without you there, how does that change the game for contractors? How have you seen that change the game for them?
Well, are you talking specifically about the vacations? Or are you talking about, because you brought that up.
Yes, more like vacations, yes, but I think it's more about the mental ability to escape, right? Or to actually enjoy vacation. I'm sure you've seen some contractors actually get to do that.
Right. Well, since you brought up mental, then let's go down the mental road there, if you will, there. Because I think there's a big transition that an individual has to take in their business mentally if they want to move into this freedom that we referenced there. And see, as a business owner, and let's face it, the majority of business owners that are tuned in today, they probably got there because you worked for some other company. You became the best technician or the best installer or the best, call taker or whatever it is. And then you had this entrepreneurial seizure and you said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to open my own business. And I'm going to apply my great skills, and that's going to lead me to be a great business owner. And the first thing that mentally you're going to have to get over if you're going to build this great business is you got to forget that you're the best. Because the reality is you don't want to be the best. If you want to be the best, then you probably need to keep working for someone else as a technician or as an installer. If you want to be the best business owner, then you're going to have to stand up and say, I want to be the best business owner. And as a business owner, you're not going to be rewarded by your ability to pick up the tools and read the gauges if you're going to build a great big business that's going to give you the freedom of time. So everything has to be now about helping the other people achieve the level of success that you had as a technician, as a call taker, as an accountant, as an installer. And now you get to demonstrate, are you really good at taking your skills and imparting those into someone else who now works for you? And can you inspire them to do what they need to do every day? Not because they have to, but because they want to.
Oh, I love it, because they
And
want.
that comes right back to that hiring the right individual again. So you've got to get over that mental mindset that, I'm Superman, I'm
Yeah,
Wonder Woman,
yeah,
I can accomplish it all. Because if you don't, you're always going to be stuck in that trap. And so there's the first shift that you got to take place, because you got to understand it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And,
yes.
we've got another saying here inside our organization that a smart contractor makes mistakes, but they learn from those mistakes and then they don't ever duplicate them ever again. But there's actually a better way than being a smart contractor. And it's not by being a stupid contractor, but it's by being a wise contractor. And a wise contractor goes out and finds someone who's already made all those mistakes, and then they learn from them and they avoid making that mistake altogether. And effectively, that's what Lemon Seed does.
Mm-hmm.
You say, we'll help you avoid these mistakes. We'll help you avoid these, valleys that you go into. Hire us, and we're going to help you get a greater return without losing, because you're not going to make the same mistakes. Well, that's effectively what Praxis S10 does as well. And so we help individuals become wise contractors so they don't have to make all these mistakes and, bang their knuckles up and get bumps and headaches along the road there.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, with Lemon Seed, when I look at contractors that are wanting to partner with Lemon Seed, basically we're interviewing each other. When I know they're a part of a group like Praxis S10 that really has structure and is giving good advice, those contractors naturally are miles ahead of other unmentored contractors. It is evident; it's written all over their plans. It's written all over their pricing. I mean, I will normally say, so you're not a part of a best practice group? Do you have a mentor or a coach? Because, I can just tell by a lot of times it's even the confidence in their own numbers and processes and things like that. So you're definitely right. You really don't have to figure this all out alone. With the right systems, the right mentors, like you mentioned, you're still definitely ahead of the game there. So speaking of at Praxis S10, Terry, any new cool stuff coming up or anything you want our listeners to know about Praxis S10?
Well, there's always cool, exciting things that are coming up. I mean, next week we have a new member launch, and so I'm excited to have a room full of people coming in, of profit-minded, successful businesses that are looking to grow and leapfrog their business forward even greater. So that's coming up. I've got some really cool things in the works that I'm not ready to disclose today, because as you know, we're industry leaders, and it's a very what's the word I'm looking for? People are paying really close attention what we do, what Jimmy Hiller does, what Praxis S10 members do, because we have a way of being on the forefront of leading the charge on new inventions and ways to improve a business. So I'm not prepared to talk about those. Perhaps in another year or two, we can roll those out after we've already put them in the field and evidence that they work, and already gained a competitive advantage, because that's our mission. That's our objective. It's to raise the level of success for the members who are part of our organization.
I love that. I love that. And you're right. If you're not getting kicked in the booty, you're not in the front. So, if you're getting all kinds of people, the best form of flattery kind of stuff, so definitely appreciate that. Well, Terry, thank you so much. You've absolutely delivered some great content today. This was just a little blip on all of the history and stuff that you can talk. So if you love to talk business and you're looking for a mentor group, a Praxis S10 is definitely a great place to start. And engage with and be really help your business, in the words of Terry, leapfrog forward. One of our favorite contractors a lot of times come from Praxis S10 models. So we really appreciate the partnership and the your insights that you shared today. Any last words for our listeners today?
Well, I think I should always remind people that are, especially in our industry, that this is the land of opportunity, and this is America. And, there's a lot of negative publicity that takes place, but my personal opinion is this is still the greatest country in the world. You've got this great opportunity. You're in a wonderful industry. Focus on the good, look for the opportunity, and ignore the negative, and you too can achieve all it is that you want to achieve in your business. So stay cool, America.
Well, I can't even add a lot to that. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of From the Yellow Chair. In the words of Terry, stay cool, America, and we'll get back with you next time.